Brother!
Guys, if you didn't notice today, we hit a huge milestone today. Today, we got a table.
We've never had a table before.
It's great.
We assembled it ourselves and everything.
We did.
In slightly other, less exciting news, we also hit 1 million subscribers today.
1 million subscribers here on YouTube. I can't believe it.
I can't believe it. I remember thinking we would never hit 100,000.
Oh my god! I remember thinking we never hit 1,000.
And 1 million.
It's up. I'm still like, my mind is still like crazy. I know it's just a number. Nothing really changes, but it's like, it still feels huge.
Oh, absolutely. So like the days leading up to today, we have been like watching the live counter, and it's been slowly getting up there. So like we knew that it was kind of inevitable, but there was nothing, like no words to describe the feeling I had when it switched.
Oh, I know. Like this morning, I didn't think I cared, and then this morning I was like, refresh, refresh, refresh.
So
it's incredible. But thank you guys so much for watching
so very much.
Every week and like making this possible. Today, what we're gonna do, one of the questions we get all the time is, can we rank our favorite Pixar movies? And that sounds like a great video idea to us, but there was two problems. One, we felt like we wanted to wait for like a big milestone to give our official ranking, because it's like big deal.
Oh yeah, and like what better day than the day you get a new table?
Exactly my thoughts. I was like, man, we got a table today. We have to do the Pixar video.
Exactly.
The other issue is that Ben and I have different lists. We don't agree on what the official ranking is. So we are going to go back and forth. We each made a list. We don't know what the other one wrote. And we've broken it into 4 tiers.
Yes. So basically, since there are 17 movies, the 4th tier will include movies 17 and 16. Tier 3 will be 11 through 15.
Yep.
Tier 2 will be 6 through 10. And Tier 1 will be 1 through 5.
Right. And we're breaking it up that way so we can sort of like argue about groupings rather than each individual placing, because otherwise I feel like we'd be here all night.
All night. We might be here all night anyway.
Yeah, this might be a somewhat longer video. You probably already know, because you can see the timeline, and we just started recording. We don't know.
Are you like so curious? Because I'm so interested to see what yours is.
Yeah, we were sort of like talking back and forth like, it's between these two for me, and I'm like, how could it be between those two?
Like those are the two that you're wondering? No.
Yeah.
Which numbers are you at? What
where are you?
Left?
I don't know, so I'm very excited. Alright, so let's dive right into it. This is Tier 4, number 17 and 16, our 2 least favorite, which is still like, the thing is, I was going through all these and I like all of them, so to put any of them lower on the list was still sort of hard.
Right, yeah, so I was having the same exact feeling where you're putting some of these movies at like further numbers from the top, and you're almost like, but I have a good memory with you.
Right.
I'm so sorry. It's not personal.
Alright, so, Tier 4, rank 17 and 16.
Yes, okay, you want to do 17 on 3? Because I have a feeling it's the same.
I have a feeling this might be one of the only ones we agree on.
Okay, alright. 17. 3, 2, 1.
Cars 2. Yeah, okay.
I think that was a no-brainer.
It kind of was. And Cars, it's just, I think that's the general opinion, just not as good.
Yeah, it's one of these movies, and we talked about it a lot this week with the Cars 3 trailer coming out, which we are so excited for.
Yes.
But one of the huge complaints we had about Cars 2 specifically was that the movie moved away from the fact that they were cars.
Right, like the first one was like all about them being cars, whereas the second one was very much like, they gave them so many different accessories, like they could have just been humans.
They could have just been humans. And it was even interesting to see, like, they did build this whole world that revolved entirely around vehicles, and everything was vehicle-oriented, but I have less interest in watching a car do secret agent moves than doing things that a car can actually do.
Right, like learning about drifting in the first one was really cool, because that's a thing cars do.
Exactly.
Right.
So...
Plus it was about Mater instead of lightning. It's just like, you just
Yeah.
want it to be about lightning.
You do.
You spend the whole first movie wanting to like him, you finally do, and then the next movie's not about him.
It would be like a Toy Story not being about Woody. Like...
Toy Story 4 better not do that.
We won't go there. We won't... Conversation for another day.
So this is exactly what we were afraid was going to happen, so I think we need to continue moving.
Okay, we'll move faster.
All
We'll
right.
move faster. Okay.
Number 16.
Okay, 16. I have a feeling this one could be controversial.
Oh boy.
Okay. I have Monsters U.
Yeah, Monsters U. I have Brave.
Brave. Okay.
Okay. It's not that controversial for me that you have Monsters U.
Okay. So Monsters Inc. is one of my tops. I won't say where. But Monsters U, I think it was maybe the same problem, kind of, sort of. I think the sequel sort of just went into territory that didn't play with the characters in the best possible way.
Yeah, I mean, I like Monster U's a lot. My reason for putting Brave lower is just that it was one where the trailers totally tripped me up. Like, I thought it was going to be this, like, epic action adventure thing with this girl, and she's going to fight stuff with a bow and arrow. And then you see it, and that's not what it's about at all.
No, it's not.
It's like a mother-daughter movie.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's fine. That's good. And so when I watched it the second time, I liked it a lot more because I knew what it was about then.
That's true.
But at that point then, like, I am not a mother or a daughter, and as such, I could relate far less to the movie. Like, it's a good story, but I don't relate to it as much.
Even that, though, and it's interesting because a lot of times they do a good job, like with Inside Out, where you have a character that isn't necessarily, like, I can't necessarily relate to the mind of Riley in the same way, or in...
Like, you're not an 11-year-old girl.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. But
you do relate to Riley.
you do relate to Riley.
Everyone relates to Riley. That's why she's one of my favorite characters ever in Pixar. Okay, tier 3. I think what we should do is just read all 5 in a row. So we'll go from 15 to 11, and then you go 15 to 11, and then we will debate.
I'm surprising myself, like, how much the secrecy matters to me right now.
It matters a lot.
This is like taking a test when you know all the answers, and you are not okay with somebody, like, looking on your paper.
Right.
No, I worked hard to know this information.
That's right. All right, so 15, I'll start.
Okay.
I'm going from 15 to 11. My 15 is Monsters U, The Good Dinosaur, Cars, A Bug's Life, Finding Dory.
Okay.
Yeah, what do you got?
Okay, so 15, I have Brave.
Oh, so we just flopped those two right
Flop
there.
those two.
Okay.
So, yeah, you said that, and I was like, I'm not far off.
Okay, you said I wasn't far off either. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
14, The Good Dinosaur.
Oh, this is the same.
13, A Bug's Life.
Okay, so almost.
12, Finding Dory.
Okay.
11, Cars.
So we actually had the same
lineup.
same bottom 7.
Okay.
Just in different orders.
Just in different orders. And it's difficult at both the top and the bottom and the middle. It's always difficult.
It is hard.
Everywhere. But that's sort of what it came down to me, is like these movies that brought more of like an emotional reaction out of me, or things that we even have just like chock full of nostalgia.
Right.
From seeing.
I think so. The interesting one here is I probably enjoyed Monsters University a little more than The Good Dinosaur, but I put The Good Dinosaur higher because, like, my association with it was the first time I visited Pixar Studio was about The Good Dinosaur, and I was like, that means a little bit more to me.
That is very true. That was a just absolutely insane experience.
Really,
to be tied to.
It was. Cars, I surprised myself. I thought, like, in my mind, I would have thought Cars was a little bit even lower. I thought it almost would have been like Cars 2, Brave Cars. But I think I recently watched Cars, and I have like fresh take years later. Much better.
Do you want to know what even was a great argument for Cars for me, even kind of putting it at the top of this tier, was the other day, again, kind of going through the Cars 3 trailer, and we were rewatching that opening scene where he's kind of flashing back and forth between, like, inside his head, it's all black, and he's kind of, like, going through, like, his paces for the race.
Man, the opening scene to Cars is awesome.
It is so good.
I was like, we only watched, because we were comparing it to the Cars 3 trailer the other day, we probably watched that opening scene like 5 times. Like, I was like so amped up every time. And
the hilarious thing, and this is like one of my favorite things, and for production value, the worst things, but we will start watching clips of movies, and then before we know it, we're just watching the movie.
Right, that happens all the time.
It's like, we're like 12 minutes in, we're like, wait a second.
That's the problem when you love the movie so much. That's how good they are. You're like, wait, I just got trapped in.
Right.
Oh, man.
So The Good Dinosaur, I think I actually probably have to agree. I mean, not that it was particularly high on mine at 14. I thought technically that movie was just absolutely, like, just wonderful to take in.
It is still, I think, the most, like, visually stunning animated movie ever. Like, we just saw Moana, and that's really good too.
Right.
But I still don't think it matches The Good Dinosaur.
No, and that's even one where I forget how good it is until we go back and we're like, oh, we need to grab a clip from The Good Dinosaur for one of our videos, and you see it, and it is just remarkable.
It is. Yeah, it's beautiful. Great. So I think that's more what it'll be remembered for than its, like, plot.
Right.
Which is, I think, most of what a lot of the commentary is anyway.
Agreed.
Yeah.
So do you want to talk about Dory being in our tier 3?
Oh my gosh, Dory. I think I was telling you I was going back and forth between Dory and a different movie that I'll keep a mystery for the moment about whether this was going to be a tier 3, tier 2 movie.
Okay.
Yeah. So it was right on the cusp there. Why was it where it was on your list?
Okay, so I loved the movie. I think it was extremely entertaining, and we had the whole like Dory for Princess thing that we went through, which was like a video that I actually had just like true blue passion about. I was like, I believe in this message 100%. But the final scene of Dory with the truck bothered me so much because it was too ridiculous.
Crazy. Yeah.
So it may be similar to Cars 2, where all of a sudden you've got like cars that are like using what am I trying to say? Grappling hooks and stuff.
And all that. Yeah.
It was the exact same. It's like I just don't think
I don't believe they're fish anymore.
Right. Yeah, they're not driving it. Like they can't drive a truck.
Right. It's interesting you say that because I think the reason Dory made it to my 11th spot is that like when I think of the ending of Finding Dory, I don't even remember the truck scene. Like for me, like in my mind, the movie ends with the seashells.
I literally just got chills, and we have like it's like 1,000 degrees in this room. The shells were amazing.
So that's why I made it a little bit higher on this one. And then whatever we talked about, A Bug's Life.
So A Bug's Life was one of the, obviously the second Pixar movie that ever came out.
Movie ever.
We saw it, we would have seen that in theaters then, as kids.
I think so. This is one we watched a ton as kids. Like we had a bunch of the toys. Even.
We did, yeah.
Yeah.
So there is a lot of nostalgia with this one. This is one that when I go back and watch, though, I don't quite have that same get sucked in sensation where like we'll start watching a clip from it and then like 15 minutes later we realize that we've been just watching it.
Yeah, there's a couple things about Bug's Life that stand out to me. That one was the first one with the short. It had Jerry's game with the chess game.
That was spectacular. One of my favorite shorts.
I thought it was the funniest thing in the world. And then I think this was also because it was the second one. It was the first time I like paid attention to what that like opening like sequence of movie things was, but the lamp comes bouncing in on the eyes. I was like, oh my gosh, this is the same as Toy Story. And it was like the first time I was like, I like Pixar. like when I first saw A Bug's Life was that I was like, I am always seeing every Pixar movie. And I was like 10 or something then, you know.
Oh my gosh, yeah, no, that is fascinating. That's an interesting thing to tie it back to.
Yeah, because that was at the Universal, the Warner Brothers, everything pops up. It's like I don't care, just start the movie. But when the lamp comes in, you're like, this is a good movie.
Yeah, you know it's gonna be good.
But, all right, so I think is that everything for tier 3?
That covers tier 3. I'm impressed though. We were more similar than I was expecting.
A little bit. So we'll see how the top ones edge out. It matters more when you're near the top what the ranks are.
It does. That's when things are going to get bloody. Moving on to tier 2. These are going to be movies ranked 6 through 10. I have a feeling things are going to start getting emotional.
This is where I think people are going to be a lot more like offended if their favorite movie is like not in the top 5, because now you'll know whether your favorite movie made it to the top 5 or not.
That's true.
This is like so you can start making judgments.
I have a feeling, like the comment section is going to start filling up as of now.
Right, and there's some I feel like people's favorites will be in this one, and they'll be like, how can it be so low?
You have to remember we love all of them.
We love them all.
And Cars 2.
And Cars 2. Okay, so I'll start. This is going to go from 10 to 6.
Okay, so excited.
All right, so at 10, Ratatouille.
Okay.
9, Toy Story.
Okay.
8, Toy Story 2.
Okay.
7, Finding Nemo. 6, Monsters, Inc. How'd we do? How's yours?
I'll read. Okay. We were very similar with a good chunk of it. Okay, so 10, I have Ratatouille.
That's the same.
9, Finding Nemo.
Okay.
8, Toy Story. 7, Toy Story 2.
Because we did the same thing. Toy Story 2 is better than Toy Story.
I think we have always agreed on that.
Yep.
6, Toy Story 3.
Oh! Okay, so we have a big Monsters Inc. Toy Story 3 problem here.
A real big one. Man, Monsters Inc. Here I was, like, already preemptively defensive to the people in the towel section for being upset that, like, their favorite movies are in tier 2, and Monsters Inc. is in tier 2.
There you go.
Oh, I'm hurt.
I'm sorry about that. So that's our only difference, though.
Okay. Right, so we are going to, at some point, have flip-flopped
at least in chunks of movies.
Right.
But you had Toy Story and Toy Story 2 basically just in front of Finding Nemo.
Correct.
And I had Finding Nemo after those two.
Right.
Okay. So, I'll tell you, Finding Dory and Ratatouille were the two I was struggling with the hardest on this entire list, whether I thought Ratatouille made it into tier 2, and ultimately I decided that it did. And that was even before I remembered the truck scene, and which it seems stupid that I could have forgotten that, but now I'm very happy about where
You mean the truck scene from Finding Dory?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. So no, I think Ratatouille is an excellent. That is one of those movies that I think is spectacularly entertaining. It is a very highly critically acclaimed movie.
Yes, it is.
It was one that, out of the Pixar movies, so same as you said, like, whenever a Pixar movie came out, it's like, we're going to see it.
Right.
Like, we will see everyone. So that is the case for me with every Pixar movie, with the exception of Ratatouille.
Interesting.
And I don't know why. I think that there is a possibility that when it came out, and this is going to sound maybe not the best reasoning, but I think I had no clue what Ratatouille meant or even was.
Okay.
So to me, like, there wasn't enough for me to, like, go off of.
Interesting. Yeah, I remember seeing. I'm pretty sure I saw it. I might have missed this one in theaters too. It might have just been like at a weird part in our lives then.
Right.
If we just weren't there, because I think I just saw it on DVD. But I mean, the more I watch, I think it probably would have been further down on my list. But the more I watch it, like as an adult, like I think I like it more every time.
I would absolutely agree with that.
Yeah, it's very. I think it ages well. It's interesting you say that. I didn't mention this about Cars, and I wanted to. Cars was the first Pixar movie that I saw in theaters where I was like, maybe that was like that was the first one I didn't walk out like, I love it. Right. And like, but then it was like, then the second time I saw Cars, I was like, I love it.
Right.
So
Right.
It like took a second viewing, kind of like Brave did, but in a different way. That was the first time. But so then Finding Nemo. So
Finding Nemo was my number 9. Okay, so many of you who have been around for a little while may know that Finding Nemo has ruined my life. What I mean by that is that the other profession that I have had,
that makes sense.
in addition to YouTube, is an aquarium design company where I take care of aquariums for a living, and day in, day out, I hear Nemo just screamed and shouted, and I think that it has just completely worn me down on the movie, and as a result, I think that I have probably seen it far too many times.
Well, that was another one that lived in our mom's DVD player in the van.
Yes,
that we watched a lot of over and over. But I can see why, if you had to experience it like at the other side of your life, that it would maybe fall below the Toy Stories.
Yes. Okay, there is an interesting point I want to make, and I will bring it back up again later, though. One thing about Finding Nemo is I think that as a father, that movie, you might watch it with fresh eyes.
Oh, that's very true. That's very true.
Because in The Whale, again, I'm like getting chills, and I'm the one talking. In The Whale, when he just gives up, can you imagine that moment as a father?
Right.
Like having to think like, I can't do it.
Right. I'm in a whale. That could totally change it. It could flip your list again.
Right. So, parents that watch our videos, is that the case for you guys? Do you think that you have different experiences than your children?
I'm sure they do. I'm sure they do on Inside Out.
Yes, Inside Out is the massive one.
The big parent one. Okay, so I think for Finding Nemo, for me, I think that was the 4th Pixar movie that ever came out.
Yeah, after Toy Story
2. Yeah. So that one, I feel like they did good Toy Story, they did good Bugs Life, they did good Toy Story, and then it was like, all right, it's time to flex our muscles. Here's Finding Nemo. This is the whole ocean. We're not like in a kid's room. We're not in some ant island. We are doing the whole ocean.
And there was so much. Yeah, they absolutely nailed it from an animation standpoint, and they built in a just awesome world.
Yeah, they really did. But so now, Monsters Inc. I am surprised. Well, I'm not surprised because Monsters Inc. Has floated around my top 5 change a lot too. By the way, you guys, this is gonna sound like it's set in stone because it's now in video. But when we get to that, it floats on the line here with my 5th one. That
is true, and even to this day, where we approach these movies, where we are looking at them in a different light for how we would like to use them for this purpose, for making videos. Certain movies do yield better, and with Boo being so critical to so many different things, that has made her character very, very important. But I actually think the Mike and Sully friendship was one that I just loved. Sort of that, like, having each other's back and...
Yeah, this was actually in Monsters U, but one of my favorite scenes ever is when they're in the human world together and they're like sitting by the lake, and it's just the shot of like the back of the two of them just sort of like sitting there like, what do we do? I love it. I'm getting chills. You can't see it. I can sleep on, but yeah.
Getting chills. Man, who'd have thought
Really
this was
good
going to be
one.
such an emotional
Who would have thought?
thing?
Well, the other thing I like about Monsters Inc. is that I think it's like the most creative story ever of all the Pixar movies, because it's like the rest of them, they sort of like take something that already exists and are like, what are the problems a fish would have or a toy? But it's like monsters, you had to come up with this whole idea of Scream and why they come through the doors, and like monsters don't really exist, maybe. But,
right. No, you're absolutely right. Like the whole idea of the fact that they use Scream, it's even like it even explains away like the monster in your closet whole trope. Like everybody is afraid of the monster in their closet.
Right.
But it's like now we're seeing like, oh, there's a reason.
Right.
There's a reason that
There
the
it
monster
is.
hides in your closet.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that from a creative standpoint, it's so funny. I feel like this is one of those movies I can't even like think about in the critical manner because I watched it as a kid.
Yeah.
So like I experienced it as a kid.
Yeah.
So
All right, final tier, the top 5 Pixar movies for each of us. Interestingly, we will, by process of elimination, have 4 of the same top 5. And people,
right.
yeah.
So you're gonna have Toy Story 3 in here, and I have Monsters Inc. in
We
here.
know that, and then it's just a matter of order of what the other 4 are in.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's gonna be interesting, and like even so, you were talking about how yours are constantly in flux. I feel like I'm even looking at my list right now, and I'm like, but I don't know. I do love that movie. So
I know.
like as I'm
They're
sitting here staring at my rankings, I'm like questioning them.
I know. Okay. All right. Well, I will go.
Okay, go ahead. Lead
Interestingly, number 5, Inside Out.
Okay.
Number 4, Toy Story 3.
Okay.
Number 3, Up.
Okay.
Number 2, Wall-E.
Okay.
And number 1, The Incredibles.
Spectacular.
Boom.
Spectacular.
What do you got?
Okay.
What do you got?
Okay. Number 5,
All right.
Inside Out.
Oh, okay. Cool.
Number 4, Up.
Oh.
Number 3, Wall-E. Number 2, Monsters Inc.
Oh man, Monsters Inc. was so much higher on your list.
So much higher. And number 1, The Incredibles.
Boom.
Which I knew we had the same
Yeah, I think I
first
knew that.
and last because
Yeah.
The Incredibles. Okay, so you talked about Finding Nemo was one. Sorry, we're just gonna jump right in. Finding Nemo was one of these movies that lived. Our mom had this minivan and she toted us around everywhere, and it had a DVD player in it. So Finding Nemo lived in there forever, and we watched it over and over and over again. And it eventually it got old for me. The Incredibles then had a stint in Mom's minivan, never got old.
Never gets old.
Liked it every single time I've ever watched it.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, I mean, I think so. The Incredibles, I think it might even be less boring, less interesting to talk about because it's just like you're just gonna sit here and praise it.
That's true.
But I think it stands out to me so much because it's not. It's like it's presented as a superhero movie, but it's more like family movie who are superheroes.
Right.
And then it's like there's no origin story, you don't know where they got the powers. That's not like most superhero movies do an origin story. This did not.
Right.
And it's a lot more like spy even than like a traditional superhero movie.
Right. That is very true. That is very true. And one of the interesting things about, like you said, like so many of the current superhero movies are origin stories, and oftentimes those movies are very good, and then the movie after they've been established as a superhero are like meh. So like sometimes the first one is great, like Iron Man is a perfect example.
Right.
Where you see how he came to do it.
And it's
awesome.
amazing.
2 and 3, like so.
Right. Plus Syndrome.
Syndrome
is
the best Pixar villain.
Best Pixar villain, maybe like up there for one of the best Pixar characters.
Also true.
Yeah.
Also true.
If you ask me, anyway. I think I love it because there's so many like kids movies or superhero movies where the bad guy's mission is just like take over the world, or he's like evil for the sake of being evil. You're like, you're being mean, right? Like, but like Syndrome makes sense.
He makes sense.
All of his motivations, even the way he's conducting it is like against the supers. He's like been scorned. I love him. I love Syndrome.
In stoked just
We
talking about
should
it.
go watch The Incredibles.
Right now.
Just let's do it.
Pause this. No, that is extremely interesting. Once upon a time, again, I think like in year 2 or 3, I made a video called "What is a Villain's End Goal?" And it's like in so many movies, it's like I'm gonna take over the world, and it's like, why?
Horrible job.
Right,
Ruling the world.
Ruling the world sounds just miserable.
Right.
So no, you're absolutely right. I think that it's a much more almost again like you don't see the origin stories for the supers, but you kind of do for Syndrome. Like you see,
do. See, that's the thing. You get his origin story.
Right.
That's what superhero season do. They need to have superheroes. Good to go. Origin story of the villain. That's where it's at.
So you can understand the villain while simultaneously rooting for the good guy.
Exactly.
Formula for a good movie.
Well played.
Okay, so we should talk about these other ones because they are our top 5.
They are. Yes. So number 5, we agreed. Inside Out.
Yes. So Inside Out was one of these movies where we saw it, as grown adults.
Yep.
In the theater, I did cry.
Did you?
Watching this movie.
I came very close about 3 times. The classroom scene.
Yes.
The Bing Bong scene. And then the one that gets me the worst is when she comes back home and they do the group hug.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. Far and away, that last one is when it got me. So when Bing Bong dies, that was incredibly sad. But you could sort of choke and hold it in. Mm-hmm. But yeah, at the end of that movie, and again, I think kind of what we talked about before. That's where you can emphasize this relatability. Even though we were never a little girl, there's still that concept of all of these things that she's going through and feeling like you don't belong and you're by yourself and you just can't summon happiness.
Right. And it's you can and I love how they just they show you how you could possibly not summon it. It's because it's not in your brain. It's down here somewhere, lost in the memory dump. Down. This is where the memory dump is, by the way.
Right around your core.
It's right around your core. Yeah, I love Inside Out. So it's interesting that this is the only ones that we've seen as an adult. It's the newest addition to my top 5 because it's one of the newer movies.
Right. So and for me, bumping out Toy Story 3 was sort of a massive step into the equation. I even remember seeing the movie and being I'm gonna have to move something. Well, see, that's what happened to me, but I moved Monsters Inc. Right. But yours was so much. You have Monsters Inc. so much higher. Right. Yeah.
And number 2. That's. I mean, I'm not surprised either because it's so good. But so I had WALL-E at number 2.
WALL-E is really, really, really good.
Yes, it is.
And yeah, absolutely. I mean, obviously in top 5 category. That's another one. Even the development of the relationship between WALL-E and Eve, I thought was really good. The ability to tell the story with
so little dialogue.
Yep. But at no point in time, and I know some people's complaints about WALL-E is the lack of dialogue, and they feel like they're maybe they're just not able to So
that's maybe if you enjoy the movie in more of an artistic way than an entertaining way,
right?
Or if you don't enjoy it because of that.
Exactly. So that's probably going to be your make or break on WALL-E. But right. I personally thought it was really cool, how much you could even learn just about WALL-E by watching him go through his day-to-day. He collects all of these things and he organizes them, and he has this kind of odd fascination for a robot in human life in the form of dancing. And
it is the best example of show don't tell.
Yes.
Which is one of those rules you learn day 1 in creative writing in college. They're show don't tell. And so many movies, they just spell everything out for you, and WALL-E doesn't. You just got to sort of learn as you go.
Exactly.
Pretty much.
Exactly.
I would say WALL-E is probably the most is probably their greatest cinematic masterpiece.
Okay.
It's probably the most perfect film they've made in a very artistic way.
Sure.
I also just really enjoy it for the story and everything.
Yeah.
But and I think if the best film they've made, I don't know if that makes sense, might be WALL-E. But I just enjoy The Incredibles more.
For movie's sake, when Bob knocks him through all the cubicles, it's just that's a fun scene to watch.
Totally. So what haven't we talked about now?
Up.
And Toy Story 3, I guess we haven't talked about. So you had Toy Story 3 in your 6th spot. I had it at 4. So we didn't even barely flip on those. We had a few spots in between.
Couple spots in between.
Man, I don't know. Toy Story 3, I love it because Toy Story, I think most people agree, is maybe the only example of a perfect trilogy.
Yes, yeah. I can agree with that 100%.
I think each movie gets better than the last, at least in my opinion. I think, and what they do such a good job of is they have so many goodbye scenes, but each one is you're saying there's one for you, the audience, to say goodbye to the toys, and there's one for the toys to say goodbye to Andy, and there's one for Andy to say goodbye to his mom, and it's
again,
you're killing me.
Right, yeah. Love pulling on those heartstrings. No, you're absolutely right, and it's interesting even because like the trilogy as a grouping is one of my favorite parts about Pixar, and it's like it's almost like if you were going to lump all of Toy Story into one grouping.
Oh right, if it's like one long movie.
Right, like I don't know where all of Toy Story ranks in my mind. Against everything else because I do love Toy Story.
Right, so if you had to just group Toy Story as a trilogy, it could very easily be the number like 1 or 2 things.
I would say Toy Story as a trilogy would end up being like my number 2 spot for Pixar experiences. But in terms of like each standalone movie and sort of how they, but even that to be said, how they build off of each other. So it's one of these huge questions we have about Toy Story 4 is like.
Yeah.
The story concluded.
You were done. What are you doing?
Right.
Yeah.
But the movies so far have done just this absolutely wonderful job.
Yeah. So I have faith because they've all been so good so far. But I guess it remains to be seen. And that just leaves Up. Up. That was my number 3. Where was it for you?
Number 4.
Number 4. So pretty close.
Pretty close.
Yeah. Up is a weird one because it's like it's sort of the most ludicrous one. It's sort of like, what is happening? What is this a movie about? An old man flies his house with balloons to South America and meets a bird and brings a Boy Scout and defeats an old explorer? What? Huh? Yeah. I pitched that in day 1 and they were like, that's a good idea, son.
Now that is a good idea, thinking outside the box.
Yeah, and yet it totally works.
It totally works. And yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, like I think even the first time I watch it, like where they sort of go through the storm and they're up in the air and, Russell and Carl just then wake up the next morning after that somehow.
Yeah. And they're there!
In exactly the right place.
I know. That's a little...
Maybe less than likely.
Right. What's interesting though is you're thinking to yourself, that's the unlikely part. Yeah. Forget the fact that they're flying the house with balloons.
Right. Maybe that
Forget
is
the talking dogs.
Maybe that's what that movie did so well though, is they stair step you up to the ridiculous, so it's like you're kind of like, okay, sure. He sold balloons for a living, so he floated his house naturally. Like no big deal. Of course he had like 80 bottles of helium in his house just prepared and ready to go.
Well, wouldn't you?
Upwards of 1.5 million balloons.
Something like that.
So by the time the house is flying, you're already just like, sure.
Yeah.
Let's see where this goes.
Here's the other thing. You're watching Up and you're like, how did you know I thought of that? Like, I feel like every kid has been like, I want to float with balloons. And someone, Pete Docter was like, yeah, everyone thinks that. I know that. No one else knows that everyone does that, but I know.
Right.
I'm going to put it in a movie.
We absolutely did that as a kid, too. I feel like there were so many occasions where we would have, like, a stuffed animal and we would tie, like,
float around
like 27 balloons to it.
Do that.
Oh,
Yeah,
man.
that happened. The other thing we haven't even touched on in Up is, I think, the opening scene with the opening 10 minutes where, like, Ellie dies and you're like, aha. That's the first time, like, Pixar, I think, really, like gut punched you.
Oh, yeah. They're like, we're going to flat out jar you right here, right now.
Boom. Yeah, that was the first time I was like, you go in, you think it's a happy movie with balloons. That's what's all the trailers. And then, no. You can't even believe. The movie just started and I'm crying.
Right.
How did this happen?
Like, how did they get you to love Ellie so fast?
I know. Yeah. That's crazy.
But they do.
But they do. Well, I think, do you have anything else?
I don't think so.
All right. Anyway, I think this video has probably gone on pretty long now.
Probably far too long. I hope some of you are still here.
Yes. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you for watching for the past 4.5 years. I mean, again, I can't even believe we're at 1 million subscribers now.
No, I mean this is a milestone beyond anything else I think we could have ever even dreamed of. So thank you guys so very much for tuning into the channel and being so supportive and being an awesome community. And so many of you have told us that you have like met friends in the towel section down below, which is like...
That's insane. I'm so happy that has happened.
Such a cool thing.
Yeah. So I guess speaking of the towel section, let us know, did you agree with our list? What do you think? And what is your favorite Pixar movie? But otherwise, I think that's all we got for you today. Ben, I will see you in another life.